May is upon us, and that means tomorrow is May the 4th. And that's a big deal with Star Wars people. May the 4th is a wonderful thing. Make sure that you don't overdo it, because you always have Revenge of the 5th the next day. So that's
that has to be a Chat GPT joke.
There you go.
You cue that one up.
So yes, you got to be careful. So, all right. Well, Matthew came out with a video earlier this past week on the experimental military merit badge. And there's been some things going on with that. I don't know if they're ending that or they're changing that. I don't know. So, Matthew, do you have any input about that? Because I'm sure that all of the people watching right now, both of them, they both have seen your video. Okay? I need to make more. Okay, we need more people to look at those videos. So, do you have any input on that?
No, I just I as I said inside of the video itself. I was planning on doing an open letter to Scouting America as soon as I found out that they were going to do this military service merit badge. I was excited. I think that is long overdue, given, our founder, Lord Baden-Powell's connection to the military and being a military general and such. And if you haven't looked up his history about that, go back and look it up. It's fantastic. And unfortunately, they came out with the merit badge relatively quick. And I got some people on the sidelines who were saying, they've been developing this for a while, so they just needed a little bit of a push to put it over. And then there were some others that said, hey, they just kind of slapped it together. And I think that I'm of the camp that it definitely felt rushed. And I use AI for scripts, for research, for different things like that. Now you have to fact check a lot of the stuff that you get on there, because there's these things called hallucinations, but I'm not going to get off on a soapbox about that or a tangent. So when you start writing things into ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whichever AI that you use, after a while, it starts to kind of guess what you want. So if you're using AI to research, I don't know, a lot about symbolism, a lot about like history and things like that, and you ask ChatGPT for, hey, I want to do a military merit badge, you start getting a lot of different things about symbols, history, which are very important in the military, like community and such, with badges, with ranks, insignias, awards, uniforms, different things like that. But when it's 3 out of the 10 like requirements, I think that it's a disservice, and it kind of turns away from what this merit badge could and should be. It should be an introduction into people understanding, why do we have the 6 different branches of the military, 7 if you count the Coast Guard, during times of activation. Why do we look at the veteran community and say that they have sacrificed, and why their families have sacrificed, and what are those actual sacrifices? Because there are people out there, including people who are in the military, who believe that it's a job, I get paid for it. They're not doing it for the 10% discounts. They're not doing it for, the Bloomin' Onion every Veterans Day. They're not doing it for those sorts of things. They're doing it because they're here for a specific reason. Somebody was in their family. They're trying to get education, or they're trying to, get some sort of skill set. And I think that that's important to point that out to scouts, that, hey, this isn't just a job. This is a profession. And if you do it for the long term, it really becomes a part of you more than you realize. And you can never really take that off, even when you take off the uniform, and help our scouts make an educated decision about if they're going to go into the military. Is that something that they're looking at doing? Because maybe that's how they're going to pay for college. Maybe that's how they're going to get their trade skills and experiences before they get out, or maybe do a little bit of traveling. So that's a long-winded way to say I have this video out there, and I hope that people out in Scouting America look at it and maybe adjust it. There are things in the requirements that I think are fantastic. Like, I didn't think about putting in there like the cost of war in the very beginning, and the like, why we want peace, and why military action should be a last resort. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, my fault. I didn't think about that, but it's so important to have that in there. So
Yeah.
that's
I
a
like
long.
I like that you made the point of Constitution. Thought
Yep.
that was very insightful.
Yeah,
I like that part.
I agree with that. I do disagree with a couple things. One, if you want to include the Coast Guard being kind of an adoptive Coast Guard family member, I have to say Space Force would be the one you could kind of, if you want to include. Sorry, Space Force followers.
Well, aren't we buying Greenland for that?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. That's gonna be their training. I don't know. But being a Air Force vet myself, I'll say this: I did 4+ years, and my life, in so many ways, is still impacted by that and who I am as a result of those 4+ years. And so I think growing up, I wasn't a big fan about, possibly getting drafted and stuff. Yes, I'm of that era. But I also learned how Israel requires their military service, right? I mean, it's kind of a rite of passage. And they have different reasons for it. But I'm almost to a point where I think if you're not heading off to college solidly or off to trade school solidly, and you have no clue what you're going to do, take a look at the military. Now, what I also loved in your video was you pointed out the percentage, which I think a lot of people think that the military is just where, the knuckleheads go or stuff. But, and if you can tell me, what was the percentage that qualify for it?
So I misspoke in the video, but only 23% of Americans are legally and are mentally and physically able to join the military without a waiver. So because legally, a majority of people are out there, they're smoking some sort of marijuana or doing drugs or something like that in their younger years, or they have some sort of mental ailments, because now there is a large population that comes out and says, okay, I have ADHD, and maybe are self-diagnosed and aren't professionally diagnosed. So they'll say it on their medical forms. And then obviously the biggest one is the obesity epidemic, and I will call it that, is the epidemic of a lot of kids are obese or overweight, and they can't join the military if they are overweight. And because there is a cutoff, you can't join 200 pounds overweight. You can join a little bit overweight, and usually that's kind of recommended. So that way, when you're going through basic training, you will lose weight. I left basic training at 125 pounds, 28-inch waist. My brand new just crossed over scout, he's 15 pounds shy of what I weighed at that time. So those are the things that people need to realize. And there's this whole thing about, and I won't get off on a super tangent about us millennials being called the Nintendo generation, and how our bone structure, our muscle density, all those different things. Yeah,
their fingers work.
There is a belief that because we played a lot of video games, and there is truth to that if you don't use your body, you don't walk around, you don't do those things, that you are going to be behind your peers who maybe played sports, who did a lot of robust hiking and things like that. And scouting helps, prevent that. Because while I did play video games, I also did a ton of hiking and a ton of outdoor activities and such like that. So I feel fairly blessed that my parents had me do that. But there are plenty of kids out there who, and I'll say kids, who get out to who get out there and all of a sudden they're hurt in basic. So I'll just get off my soapbox on that one.
That's okay. You'd be surprised how many job openings there are for people who can do the Nintendo thing. I know of several. They are with the Air Force scouts that I have mentored towards Eagle, and that's what got them there. Those are the controls for some of the stealth fighters and stuff that aren't manned. They actually can fly them around with those things. So it's an amazing world. But it is the thing about this merit badge is that it expands. It expands that view. We have merit badges on auto repair, we have merit badges on cooking, we have all these different things, and every one of them's got something about a career. Military is a decent career. It really is, especially for young people that don't know the path they want to go. And it's a great merit badge. I think it's long overdue.
Yeah, the one thing that I thought would be in there was understanding the ranks.
Yeah.
And to me, that would be something to teach that that a lot of people don't really understand. So even watching like the old war movies, hey, you got busted to corporal or you got promoted to corporal. What does that mean?
Exactly.
I mean, what's the difference?
It helps
and the corporal. And one of my favorite military trivia questions was 4 officers are POWs. One's Army, one's Air Force, one's Navy, or 3. All are captains. Who's in charge?
The Navy.
Ooh.
And the Navy one is because a captain in the Navy is much more.
Well, they're in charge of more expensive equipment.
Well, yeah, they're a higher rank in the officer ranks, but compared to the other branches. Sorry, I don't know. My brain's like skipping to that.
It's okay. You're sitting close to the fire. That's
why. That's it. It's the heat.
It's getting you toasted there.
So I was kind of looking for that, just for people to understand, and you touched on it too, Matt. What's a non-commissioned officer versus a commissioned officer? I did appreciate the joke, and I hope the warrant officer joke didn't offend anyone because they don't understand it, and that would be the valid point of why we need to make those things clear. And I still don't know what a warrant officer does either.
And
there's a lot of warrant officers that don't know what it is.
And that's funny is that it's the vet. A majority of the veteran community is not going to be offended by that. They're going to understand the joke. Even the CW5s and stuff are going to be like, yeah, that's true.